It's January again. Certainly a month for movies. Like this one. Definitely a movie. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It is SpiderNick06. Back after a 3-week break. My voice was really bad. I couldn't really record anything, but hoping to get a few more videos out to make up for that really long streak. But we're here today with the review of the latest Netflix movie, Lift. Now, looking into this one, it looks like every single other Netflix movie. Star-studded cast, very generic premise for all of their action thrillers like this, but does it have a plot that sets it apart from all the others? We're about to find out. An international heist crew led by Cyrus Whitaker raced to lift $500 million in gold from a passenger plane at 40,000 feet. Now, looking at this premise in the trailers and expanding on what this plot is, it sounds a lot like Red Notice starring Ryan Reynolds and The Rock a few years ago. And while it does sound a lot like Red Notice, and knowing how the reviews were for that one, I found it okay, but a lot of people hated it. Just imagine that, but worse, and you have Lift. What makes this even worse than Red Notice is the fact that the story in this movie is so forgettable, and that's even being generous. When you have a heist movie like this, you want to have a memorable story with memorable characters, but that doesn't really want to deliver on that. The script feels like a first draft of every other Netflix action film, and that's bad because a lot of other Netflix action films, the majority of them already feel like first drafts of themselves, and this feels like a first draft of those, which is not good for this movie at all. The heist elements in this movie are extremely lackluster and have been seen in just an infinite amount of times. There's just not a lot of originality in what they're trying to do here with any of the elements of what they're doing, the cleverness of their plans. There's just really nothing that draws you in here. And because of all of this, I just kept forgetting what was going on from just how uninteresting this movie is. I couldn't name any of the single characters by their names. Like, I knew, oh yeah, that's Kevin Hart. Don't remember his name. Oh, Sam Worthington, that's the Avatar guy. Completely forgot what his character even does. It's just the fact that none of these characters have anything compelling about them, and they try to do that with Kevin Hart's character and Abby. I remember her character's name. But they try to do something with them, but since they're just boring characters, there's nothing really there to draw the viewer into that relationship. And then you get into the heist team, and it is absolutely one of the lamest heist teams I have seen in a long time. I forgot all their names during the movie. I can't even name a single one now. I couldn't even tell you what any of them did or what their roles were. It doesn't spend any time really developing them. Like, we see a lot of them together as one, and sometimes that was fun seeing the cast interact with each other, but none of them get enough development or enough personality so that way you're actually into seeing them like do their jobs or be interested in case of something going wrong for one of them. It's just nothing about this keeps you invested in this story. Because of all of these elements with the characters being super lame and the heist elements having absolutely nothing original or clever about it, it makes the end of this feel like it has no payoff because you didn't care about anything that was actually going on. So it just makes it feel like a waste when this movie finishes. And besides not being original about basically anything, there's just nothing sneaky or clever about the heist at all. It's super by the numbers. There's nothing, like, it just kind of flows by itself as, oh, we're stealing art and we're hacking. We've seen that so many times, but there's nothing sneaky about it. They try to do this big reveal at the end of something going on behind the scenes, but it feels forced in there because they knew that they didn't really do anything interesting in their heist elements. So it's just a lot of forcing things in for no reason. There's just so many tropes that we've seen a million times, or a heist that just didn't feel like it had much effort going into planning it. And that's another thing about this. Because of how unoriginal and conventional this heist is, the characters don't actually feel like they're great at planning a heist because they're not doing anything sneaky. So when everything goes well, it just shows how stupid the villains are and just how forgettable they are. And then you get into the cast. We've seen Kevin Hart so many times in comedy roles. He was fine here. I know a lot of people are tired of seeing him. I'm not personally tired of seeing him as long as he's in good stuff like in Fatherhood, and I thought that was a pretty good movie. But then you get this, you have The Man from Toronto, I think that's what the movie is called. He's not really going full on Kevin Hart, and I want him to do some more dramatic stuff. I feel like he's very capable of doing that. It's just with the script, they didn't know if they wanted him to be super funny or more serious. So I felt like his character was restricted in where he could go. He was restricted in the comedy aspects, restricted in the dramatic aspects. So it all just feels like he didn't have much to work with. And then another cast member that you have in here is Vincent D'Onofrio, who we previously just saw in Echo returning as Kingpin. But I thought he was, again, just fine. There wasn't much to his character. He was kind of there, kind of just wasted. And that kind of goes for the whole cast. I didn't care for their performances, found some of them cringy, but again, the dialogue was really bad, so you can't completely be mad at them. But They didn't add personality to their characters. So again, the cast is just fine at best, but a lot of them are just very mediocre and probably could have been casted better or at least tried harder. And then you get to the directing, which is directed by F. Gary Gray, who previously directed The Fate of the Furious, Men in Black International. He did do Straight Outta Compton. I heard that was incredible, Best Picture nomination. I thought Fate of the Furious was fine. I thought it was fun enough. But if you thought the quality of that movie was low, it looks like Fast Five when you're comparing it to this movie. And then this movie also does the biggest crime that a heist movie could possibly do, and that is being boring. I kept checking the time throughout the whole thing, and it felt super slow moving. Everything I said previously contributes to that. But again, the story just doesn't have anything grabbing you in. The action is just falling flat the whole time. There's just nothing about this movie that sets it apart from everything else. It's not even a background movie because you're just going to be looking at it and it's going to be headache inducing because you just see how bad it looks and how bad the quality is. So basically, the bottom line, Netflix needs to stop making such generic and awful films like this. Now, before I get into my final thoughts for this film, make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. What were your thoughts on the film? Did you love it or did you hate it? The latter is most likely. Lift is another Netflix original film that you can't tell apart from the others. It's unoriginal, not clever enough for a heist film, and fails to deliver on a compelling story. You won't remember a lot of this film when the credits roll, and the overall quality of the film feels really low. My final score for Lift is going to be a 28%. Really low score for this one. There's just nothing in this movie that I took from it. I wouldn't even put this on in the background. I would just put music on, really. But it's not fun to have in the background. It's just a movie that Netflix put out for content's sake, in my opinion. So that's just how I see Lift, a movie that exists. Hopefully, this review saved you 90 minutes of your time. But if you really are interested in checking this movie out, I encourage you to form your own opinion because we could disagree, and that would be awesome because that's a new movie that you enjoy. So I'm hoping that does happen for you. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.